Welcome to Treasure Island. Today's adventure, beachcombing. Okay, we're anchored in. This is where we are. I call this Treasure Island. It changes shape with the tides. Tide is going out. It should be out in another couple of hours. You can see already the water that used to be in here is slowly dissipating. Some old World War II ammo bunkers are over at the one end. Piece of blue glass. I guess you could call it sea glass. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for sea glass. We're looking for, look, here's a piece right here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's green. It's not the greatest sea glass in the world, but it'll work. These are the two pieces of sea glass that I just found within 1 minute. The water's very shallow here. And this is where sometimes you can find bottles and inkwells and other sorts of things, especially things. I found 2 inkwells in this swamp. Now, when it's low tide, there's just a trickle of water that goes through there, and you can actually walk in the mud, but you have to be careful that you're not sucked under like quicksand. One thing you don't look for on an island like this is any kind of shell. There just aren't many. Look at this. Here's another piece of sea glass. It's not. It's nice. It's blue. It's worn a little bit. It's got some markings on it, which make it interesting. So that's one we'll keep. Very beautiful out here. I don't know if you can see them, but they are a bunch of hermit crabs. You can see it's low tide. This would all be underwater. In fact, the water would be, well, above here, quite frankly. Sometimes it actually, the island will disappear. A lot of pieces of bricks. You see a lot of horseshoe crabs, some dead, some living, some dying, some making love, if that's what you can call it. But you see a lot of this, a lot of man-made items, and then you see a lot of bottoms of bottles, like the one on the right. But not worth picking up. Now the object here is to find something old, preferably an old bottle that's intact. An old Heineken bottle is nothing you want to collect. Here's the bunker at the one end of, it's really not an island, but it might as well be because it's hard to get to. And across the way you can see Highlands over there. I like to come here after a storm. We had a wind and a little bit of a tidal surge the other night. Really looking out in the direction of Raritan Bay, off to the right at the end of Sandy Hook would be the entrance to the Atlantic Ocean. The goal is to separate all the junk from stuff that actually might be collectible, and unfortunately when you walk on this beach, especially after a storm, you see a lot of junk and you don't always know what to pick up. I like to call this a debris field. It's a little bit hard to just sort of look at it from a distance and know if there's anything worthwhile. Sometimes you just got to walk over it and look. There's an old tire, a big tire too. It's been here for 1,000,000 years, right across from our fair city. So hopefully something will wash up from Mother Nature. Maybe it'll be a bottle, a piece of glass, an old fragment, or something from Fort Hancock. You know, you get a lot of false alarms. You see something, a beautiful dark green piece of something, and you think, oh, that's it. And it turns out to be a piece of seaweed. Another hour, that little piece of water will be gone. That was filled with water at high tide. Here we are in the debris field. It's hard to see everything. You just have to look. See, here's a false alarm. This is just a piece of plastic, but it looked nice. Sometimes I walk fast, sometimes I walk slow. Sometimes I lean over to pick something up, look at it more carefully, and sometimes I don't bother. This is a recently drained culvert. Sometimes you find things in these, especially hermit crabs. Sometimes you find horseshoe crabs. Sometimes I walk in this mud, and sometimes I choose not to. It depends on how I feel. Well, one thing that I've realized since being out here, there are mosquitoes, so this may not be much fun for me, maybe for you. Well, I'm in the water because of the flies. The flies were attacking me in huge swarms, so I had to I had to get out of there. I may just stay in the water here. All right, I was out of the water for 5 seconds and suddenly the black uglies came and attacked my legs again. Not good. Not good at all. Now here's where Treasure Island breaks. Here's where some of the water is trapped, but it's slowly coming out as the tide goes out to sea. Now we're staying out of the debris fields and staying close to the water. Look at the waves coming in. It looks like a bottle, but it is, but we'll leave it down so nobody steps on it. Suddenly the sun has come out on our Treasure Island. It's, I don't know if it's out for just a small period of time or what, but it's peeking around the clouds. This looks like a little knife sheath. It's plastic, so it's made in Thailand, of course. This is the stuff I really like to get because it's an old bowl, and it looks like it might be ancient, but I don't know. It could be part of a porcelain pipe system too. Here's something else. You just see stuff like this. After a while, you know, it's really just some kind of bit of a terracotta piping. We're still just walking along the shore, not really in the debris field so much anymore. I wanted to stay away from those black flies or whatever they are. Well, this is the end of the island up here. As you can see, there's an inlet that goes between the two islands. The one on the other side is Skeleton Hill Island, and Highlands is off in the distance. Here's a nice piece of sea glass. You can tell it's nice because it's kind of frosty. It's thick. It's got a nice, if you hold it up to the light, it looks nice. Got a nice color. Now, if I felt like it, I could walk out there. It's pretty shallow, and you could actually walk out for quite a ways. It's actually astounding. That's why we pulled the boat up on the other side. We had a little bit more depth in the water. We'll walk out here a little bit. Look, see here, you can tell this is not an old piece of glass, but it's there. You gotta watch out where you're walking out here. You can see the tide is swiftly moving out, but still, it's all pretty shallow. And as you walk out, sometimes you find things like, well, what's this? It looks like a piece of metal, some kind. Yeah, it's an old corroded something or other. And you can see how shallow. There's another piece of sea glass down there, but not worth picking up. It's getting a little deep in here. Oh, look what's in here. I collect these. This is a bobber. Okay, I can't tell you how many of these I found. You know, they get caught on something, and they're perfectly good. All right, it's getting kind of deep, so we're going to go back in to the shore, carefully looking as we go, whatever we may find. There's something, but it's a new piece of glass. Now we're at the end of I call it an island, I call it Treasure Island, but it isn't really. It's a bit of a peninsula that comes out in here into Sandy Hook Bay. And it's a great place to find things. Here we are still. We're headed back to the boat. And there's a crane of some kind. I like this piece because it's got a little bit of writing on it, and it's a pretty color. This is always interesting. You get a lot of sand like this where the water has left quickly or left a pattern, and it stays high and dry after the tide goes down. See a lot of sandpipers. They're sort of all over the place. If you look carefully, you can see what the horseshoe crab has done in the sand, these tracks. And there's two of them. I like these debris fields because look, there it is right there. See, you find stuff all the time. And this is a nice piece of glass, as is this. It's actually a big piece and it's flat, but it's not a bad piece. So we'll continue our walk down this debris field. Let me know if you see anything. Maybe we can both look in different directions. After the Hurricane Sandy, there was a lot of stuff washed up here. Some of it's washing off again. Well, this is interesting. You see a lot of this. This is a piece of slag. The ships used to burn different things, and this is a result of it, I believe. You can see how steep this is. The water comes all the way up to the top at high tide. You got to be careful you don't walk on a living horseshoe crab. Now we've climbed to the top here, and we're headed back to the boat that's way beyond those birds. You can see how the tide continues to go down. The boat is actually beached a little bit there. Well, I'm having engine trouble. That's how far I am from shore, and won't seem to start. The birds are also watching. See if I make it out of here alive. Well, we extricated ourselves from that mess. Very shallow back there, shallower than it's been in a long time. So we're leaving Treasure Island. Thank God. Black flies and mud and low tide. Now, when we first came out here, this was a lot higher. You can see the mud flats out there, I guess is what they are. We have to be very careful in here because we're not out of the woods yet. It's still pretty shallow. You can see straight ahead there's a spit of sand sticking out into the water. It doesn't give us much room to negotiate on either side, and we need to get through there to get home. Yeah, you can see the motor starting to act a little funny. It is pretty sandy in here, so we're going to have to brute force choke our way out of it. It is very, very sandy. We got to get to deep water. This is all shallow. I see deep water ahead. We're sort of out of the shallow water, but we're still not out of trouble. We have to make it through that little opening right there. You see the old seawall there coming out on the left and the island on the right? It's just a narrow strip of water between those two. We got to make it through. If we do that, we'll be okay. Pretty low. You can definitely see to the bottom. It's probably a foot. I can hear the propeller hitting it now. So we got to go right through here. If we make it through here, we'll be all right. The motor's fighting. It's fighting the bottom. Is this an adventure or what? Get through this narrow opening. And we're going to go a little slower now. If we hit something, we could sink the boat. All right, we're going through it. We just went over a heap of rocks. There is a bunch of rocks that extend out from that seawall all the way to where the motor just ran over them. It's been abused today. But I'd say we're almost home free. There's Highlands.